Hey, I'm here today to answer the question, what is a money market fund? Hey, my name is Michael Hollis. I'm a financial planner with Tapestry FP, where we help people make their money mean something. And we use the phrase weaving wealth with meaning to describe that. Now, I like to answer questions that real people ask. So today's question comes from a friend who has observed that a lot of people around her don't know about money market funds. And so I wanted to answer, what is a money market fund? So she relayed that for a while, she and her husband lived with family, and that gave them the ability to save up a pretty healthy down payment. But for a good portion of those years, they just had that money sitting in a normal savings account at the bank down the street, earning 0.01%, almost nothing. And when they heard about this money market thing, they were like, whoa, I'm going to put my money over there. And they were earning substantially more. And she just felt like, gosh, if we had known about this sooner, we would have been able to earn a lot more for our down payment. And so really her underlying question is, why didn't someone tell us about this? Well, to answer that, you really have to look back at history and what interest rates have done over the last 30 or 40 years. And up until really recently, really from the great financial crisis on to 2022, interest rates were really low and sometimes essentially zero. And so money market funds, I'll put high yield savings accounts, CDs in the same category. They just weren't that useful for actually having like real dollars land in your pocket. So I just think they fell off the radar. And so culturally, just their importance was diminished. It's only really in the last few years with the impact of the stimulus from COVID, supply shocks, demand shocks, that interest rates shot up again. Our central bank increased interest rates, and so banks started offering higher rates. And all of that to try to attract those dollars to those institutions and those financial instruments. And so yeah, for the last several years, you've been able to earn, probably 5%. It's been dropping, today it's probably only about 3.5% on average. Much better than what you can get at your bank. What the future is going to hold, who knows, right? I mean, nobody saw the impact of COVID and everything that happened, and the impact on inflation, then. So who knows? But what I want to explain here is that 3.5% that your money market fund or your high yield savings account is earning isn't as much as you think it is. That 3.5% is what we call the nominal rate. So the named rate, the stated rate that the account will earn. So let's say you have $10,000 in savings, 3.5%, that's $350. Of course, that's much better than the 0.1% that you might be getting at your local bank. So nominally, yes, 3.5% is much, much better. But there's another concept here with money called the real interest rate. And the real rate of return takes into account inflation. And so that 3.5% is actually much less when you consider that today's inflation rate is 3.3%. That effective spread there between those two is your real rate of return. So and this is a simple way to calculate it, but your real rate is really only 0.2%. And so your money is losing purchasing power by remaining in these steady, stable accounts. The other thing that some people don't take into account is taxes. And so for all the interest that you earn in a money market fund, in a money market account, in a high yield savings account, you owe federal and sometimes state income taxes on that. And so really you have to reduce whatever you're earning on that account by your tax rate. And that's really your final effective rate. All of this makes crystal clear that we really have to have the right amount of cash available. And this is called liquidity. Liquidity is made up of two things. First, that you have fast access to it, and two, it has stability of the principal amount. So when you have both speed and stability, you have liquidity. And we need liquidity for things like our monthly household finances, an emergency fund, things like savings goals that are coming up in the next 2 to 5 years, like a house, vacation. But we want to be careful to avoid having too much cash, because in the long run, over years and years and years, that higher rate that you have in that money market fund or high yield savings account really isn't delivering the value that we think it is. And so how much cash you need on hand, how much liquidity you need, that's really the benefit of financial planning, because in that process, you can figure out, well, how much do I need in these different places? And that's why I help families answer a whole bunch of financial questions that keep them up at night. So if you have any other questions about the accounts that are available to you, interest rates, or how much cash you should have on hand, feel free to email us at questions@tapestryfp.com, or you can go to our website, tapestryfp.com/ask. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Thanks for watching.